Alright, so I do apologize, everybody. It seems like we've got that sorted out, hopefully. We'll find out shortly. But in the meantime, I'm just going to do what I do. Production team is quickly on it, so we apologize about the delay. But driver swap has happened here, so 8 hours of the race has commenced here. We're a little past that point now, obviously, as the drivers are out on track. Pardon me. And we have our race leader here from Esports Race Asylum 44 GTR out in the lead, 1.5 minutes ahead of our second place team here. The defending champion is the ORT Dodge Viper here, currently being piloted by Sturt Fonseca. In third place, we have a higher place here. He is in the Sector 7 Racing Aston Martin 764 car. We've got the team Grid Life car, the number 3 car here, currently sitting in 4th place. We have in 5th place here, I don't recognize the driver, so I'm just going to see the car here for a moment is what I'm waiting for. Looks like the Project Platypus Racing BMW here, currently being piloted by Meldon. We've got the GT Finland Racing GTR here in 6th place currently. Some smaller gaps here, so we'll keep an eye on that. We've got Total Wolf here in the Elamar? I think so. Aston Martin here. We've got the Project 1 Racing Aston Martin in 8th place here as well, piloted by Jake. We've got Shred here in the Last Minute Racing GTR, the number 45 car. We have Jack, so it is, in the Apex Hunting Racer BMW, and that is by far a very flashy car there. It looks like it drove through a big spill of paint at high speed. Fantastic stuff. We've got Antonio in the Sector 7 Esports car here. Very tough day and tough start here for the number 5 car, as this is our current championship points leader here, but it seems like they have dug in and they're going to see what they can do from here. There's still plenty of race left. We still have 16 hours of racing left here, so definitely not down and out, but they're definitely going to have to grit their teeth and really dig into this race here now to see what they can do with it. We've got a True Serum here in 12th place currently. And they're in the Sector 7 Mercedes. It took me just a hot minute there to realize which car that was. And we've got the other Race Asylum car here, the BMW, in 13th place currently. And I'm just trying to figure out who we're missing here. We're missing the Project Platypus McLaren, from what I can see here. So we did start with 14 drivers, and we're down to 13 here apparently. So that means there were some issues here for our McLaren team, and it has been an interesting day, plagued full of mysterious mechanical failures for whichever team that they've plagued here so far today. Of course, mistakes. We've seen some good crashes and we've seen some good battles. So we're going to kind of start to key in and look around the racetrack, see what we can find here. As we can see, it is now very firmly planted in evening dark conditions, and the track will change now for these races as well. So they're coming in fresh with what information has been passed on from the driver that was in the car before him. But as the track continues to get into the darker conditions, of course, that means that the track is also changing. So we are seeing cooler temperatures, which means that the track is going to have maybe some more disadvantages in the dark than we're going to see advantages as we see at the start of the race. Your visual references are limited. You're at high speeds, and they're doing the best that they can for these racing headlights and endurance lights on these cars. But the track is also not going to hold the same as it did a couple hours ago when the track was in quote optimal conditions. So the drivers are going to have some adversity to face. They're going to settle into these cars. They're really going to have to pay attention to what the cars are doing underneath of them. Alright, just make sure everything's working properly. Sorry, we had a little bit of a technical malfunction on my end here. Getting ready for stint number 5 here, and as we can see our race leader navigating around, I believe, one of the Sector 7 cars. That is at the Mercedes. It is the Mercedes. So making his way around the current 12th place position driver here on track in a blue flag situation there. Handled very well right before the Porsche curves as we come out in through and towards the Corvette S's here. Harlech with a 1.5 minute lead over Team ORT. ORT in second place very firmly. Got that Dodge Viper in good grip of this race here so far today. Nice little cushion for them in behind with a 1:43. And looking very solid here. The Dodge Viper looking very strong here at the 24-hour Le Mans this weekend. We've got a higher place in the Aston Martin, the Sector 7 764 car. Boomer car. I was just trying to, it was right at the end of my tongue. I had to think about it for a second. Sector 7 Boomer car here. Currently sitting in third place, having a fantastic run here at Le Mans today as well. We've got the Grid Life number 3 Lexus here on the racetrack as well, currently being piloted by IRO's Lucas in fourth position, but has some pressure in behind. So let's stick with this here as we've got 3 cars definitely within battling distance, and it looks like throughout the rest of the field we have 10 to 20 second gaps. So this is where the action is. Let's sit with it for a moment. And it is getting dark out, so it is getting hard to differentiate one car from the other, but we will do our best to keep everybody informed on which car is which here. And a little bit extra letting put up from the track officials here to try and help us out a little bit up in the booth as well. But again, this just goes to show how much more difficulty the racers are dealing with here at Le Mans in the dark conditions. Now the track is going to be cooling down, which is going to make it slipperier. However, the one advantage to that should be that the drivers should be able to manage their tires maybe for a little extra distance if they choose to try and do so. The bigger question is, can they also do that with their fuel, or have they compensated taking a smidge more fuel to try and stretch a tire life out, or are they very settled in and very happy with the strategies that they have set out in place? But it's really having some issues cooperating.
Keeps telling me that something's not working, but everything apparently is working, so we're just going to keep going.
We have not shut this off on our own YouTube channel yet. I don't want to take the risk of using extra resources on the computer at the moment to open another window, so if anybody is on the GT45 Gaming YouTube channel, please do head over to the International Racing Organization's channel on YouTube as well. Just put in at International Racing Organization, and it should pop right up with the logo of the stream and watch it there. Please, that'd be fantastic. Once we're happy that the stream isn't going to cause any more issues, we will go and, of course, unlist that so it can't be seen on my channel. But just working around the complications here right now. So let's keep moving through the field here as Melvin is just on the outside edge of that slipstream right now. So keeping in mind that fourth place is only 3.4 seconds in behind third place currently. So there's potential podium battle looming there as well, and we're just going to take a quick peek at sixth place here for a second, just make sure nothing's brewing back there. But I guess the bigger question is, does Melvin want to attack immediately here, or does he want to maybe tuck in behind that number 3 car and give a little nudge here and there for maybe a next, say, 2, 3, 4 laps, settle into the conditions of the racetrack, settle into the driver's stint as well into the car, and potentially maybe gain that time a little bit quicker. And instead of having a potential one-way battle for fourth place between the two of them, there's a potential 3-way battle for that final podium position here currently, a little past 8 hours in. I do apologize. Apparently I've got a frog in my throat. We've been off the mic for too long here. It's only been a couple of weeks, but here we are. So again, for those of us that are just tuning in, welcome in. I'm your host for the next couple hours, GT45 Gaming. Welcome to the International Racing Organization. And we are 8 hours and roughly about 15 minutes into racing conditions here in our 24 hours of Le Mans. So lots of racing action yet to come to everybody this weekend. This thing is only just beginning. This is the part of the race, the mid part of the race, where the toughest conditions of the race essentially currently are, as there's no inclement weather in the forecast here for the 24 hours, so we shouldn't have to worry about Mother Nature throwing any curveballs essentially into the race. Nothing major anyways. So it's going to come down to driver skill, sheer pace around this very, very fast and technical racetrack through the kind of French countryside. But it poses a problem here in the evening hours and the darkening hours leading into sunrise, because the track changes, the wind typically changes quite a bit, and is going to make things different for these racers. They're going to have to make constant adjustments. Their focus has to be 110% sharp, and if I'm not mistaken, most likely that there is a competency test done in between preparation week for the races that does prove driver competency in the evening hours. Of course, always safety is of the utmost priority for the racers, so the tracks do have rules in place for these types of things. So in a real life situation, the only drivers that would be allowed currently in this condition in a 24-hour race would be drivers that are certified for this particular event by officials based off of training sessions, qualifying sessions, free laps, etc., specifically designed for nighttime driving. And if you are not an approved driver by the track officials in that particular event, you will not be allowed to be put behind the wheel of that race car in the dark conditions. So these are the drivers essentially that are certified safe and competent of driving in the more extreme conditions. So these drivers have the toughest part of the race, and it's not going to be due to necessarily rain. It's going to be just due to the changing track conditions and cooling weather. As your tires start to wear down, that does tend to make it a little more slippery, and that's when we're going to see those smaller mistakes start to come into play. So it should be an interesting stint number 5 here for the next couple hours, I think, and it's nice to see that we still got some good active potential battles here on the racetrack this early into the race essentially as well. We're not even halfway through, so let's rock, let's roll, let's keep the tires rolling, and let's see what this high class field of drivers has in store for us as we continue on this weekend. So we got a penalty here from VQS Melvin here, and that is an ideal situation right now for the number 3 car, as the Project Platypus BMW is going to be held up slightly here, having to serve that penalty. She's going to slow him down about a second and just pull him out of the slipstream range, cost him a little bit of momentum here from the number 3 car, but 1.4 seconds we've seen at the beginning of the stint here, and he's slowly but surely managed to close himself up to a point there where he is ready to start potentially battling with the Grid Life number 3 car. However, penalty has slightly changed that for maybe a lap or two. We'll have to see how it plays out, but currently Melvin now back in chase mode here on the number 3 Grid Life car. So the cars that are in battle are the cars that are getting the love here right now early on, as we also settle into the race here for the first time as well in the booth this weekend. So appreciate everybody tuning in. We always appreciate the support here at the International Racing Organization, and definitely don't forget to hit that like and share button for us. It's one free thing that you can all do to help the page grow until more awesome racing teams are what's going on here. The more interest, the more racing, that means the more entertainment for everybody at home. That means, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, that means all you great men and women at home watching. So we appreciate everybody, and again, this battle's starting to kind of develop back in here, slowly but surely. We've got the Project Platypus BMW creeping in on that Lexus, so in my opinion, pretty equal cars, I think, under these conditions at this racetrack, knowing how both these cars kind of operate and where their optimums and not so optimums are kind of designed into the cars. Obviously the BMW has one advantage over the Lexus, but Lexus has one advantage over the BMW, which essentially dead evens these two cars out. As far as what you got to do to get the maximum out of these cars is pretty close to the same, but the way the cars are needed to be driven to get into their maximum power output. So this is going to be a great battle here if that's what they decide to do, or if they decide to work together, it could work out very, very well for them to close in on that Aston Martin up in front, driven by Higher Place right now. The Aston Martin has one very massive advantage over both these cars chasing in behind right now is one-on-one. It has an insane amount of speed on exit. It has a crazy throttle input to it. It will just roar out of the exit of the corner. It will just take off on you. Where it lacks is in the very top end of that car where its maximum power output is, and that's where the Lexus and the BMW will close back in on that Aston Martin. So this is a little game of cat and mouse right now between these three manufacturers on the racetrack, and as we head up to Mulsanne, it's hard to say what's going to happen here. So we do have a intentional pass looking like that's going to happen here, and it is going to happen there. It's not going to see any fight from the number 3 car here, and that's probably smart not to cost them any unnecessary time. and it is a positional change here as the Project Platypus BMW now moves up into 4th place, putting this number 3 car down into 5th place here. So very early in the race, doesn't seem like that was a very big panic move there on the part of either one of those two drivers. It was a very clean positional swap, and maybe cost a couple tenths of a second on the 3rd place driver, higher place in the Aston Martin from the Boomer car up in front. So very interesting. Let's see if the BMW maybe has just a smidge more pace than the Lexus now in behind, and see if that helps close both these race teams up into the 3rd position car here. So we are going to stay with this, however, and are now going to move up into the Project Platypus BMW, as they were, of course, the ones to just grab a position there. So let's put that camera up on that beautiful car and see what we can of it in the dark here anyways, and continue as now Melvin charging in on towards higher place. So it's also keeping in mind it was 3.4 seconds when we really started sitting in on this battle here. That gap is now down to 1.4 and closing on the 3rd place driver, so very quickly becoming a 3-way battle for 3rd place. And you know, smart decision making sometimes really can pay off for racers in a race team. And oh boy, we have a massive mistake from behind there, and it looks like the number 3 Grid Life car had a moment on the racetrack there and a spin. So let's take another look at that here as we're coming in through the Indianapolis sector and coming around the corner. Everything looks good, gets a little bit wider, and catches the wall on the exit there. You can see that car absolutely just take a jolt, and definitely some damage on that race car there for the number 3 car. So that is highly unfortunate there for the Grid Life car, and it's going to pull him out of that battle here for potential podium position, but also currently for 4th place. So we'll have to see if they make a pit stop here. If I had to guess, based off the nature of the racetrack today, that is definitely going to be an unscheduled pit stop here, but we'll have to wait and see what they choose to do. So now on board with our 3rd place car here, the 764 Aston Martin from the Sector 7 Racing Boomer team. It is a higher place here in 3rd position, but boy, he is starting to feel the heat as he's about to potentially move to a lower place here and maybe find himself down into 4th place before the end of this lap. So the pressure is coming from the Project Platypus BMW in behind, and boy, it is definitely mounting as it's now within a car length separating these two manufacturers here at 24 Hours of Le Mans from the International Racing Organization. So let's keep at it here. We're definitely not going to want to miss, and we are seeing that pit stop coming from the number 3 Lexus car. Definitely suspected we would see that there. They're going to get that car fixed up. Probably no tires, no fuel, and just get it back out as quickly as they can and grind in and try to make that time back up. So going to cost them a couple of positions definitely here on the racetrack with that pit stop, but not take them out of the race by any stretch of the imagination. It is what it is. We've seen that happen from the number 5 car earlier in the race here today as well, in the exact same part of Indianapolis there. And again, we did speak on your visual references being hindered in the dark here. In the French countryside, it definitely gets dark in certain parts of this racetrack, so highly unfortunate there. But these racers are pros. They'll dig in and they'll do everything they can to continue to just try and push forward. And that's why we're out here. That's why we race. But it is a nice move there from Project Platypus. And let's go take a look. A second look. It's a little tough, but it's just a good, clean, very decisive, very smart move up the Mulsanne here. Got that slipstream, used the momentum advantage from the slipstream. Now we'll go ahead and get on past that Aston Martin, tuck up in front, get back on the racing line, make sure he got through the first chicane there and move up the second Mulsanne. So textbook maneuver there from the Project Platypus BMW, now up into 3rd position here as Melvin is on the fast track upward here. 1 minute 51 seconds to 2nd place, and we're going to sit with this just for a moment longer here and see if we're going to see a response come, of course, from the Sector 7 Aston Martin. Yes, sorry JP, I'm just checking. I'm just catching up with the chat here, so I do apologize to all the teams that are waiting to see where their drivers are at very early on in the stint here. I mean, we can jump here. At this point, if we're going to see a hard battle, it's going to be much of the same thing, I think. So let's get back into our field here. We'll head down into what's now a 5th place here, our GT Finland car here as well, the GTR. 13.5 seconds in behind that current battle we've been watching here for the last, 10 minutes probably now, and 27 seconds ahead of Total Wolf. Total Wolf here in not sure which car it is actually, to be honest with you, without seeing it. So we'll just wait for a second. It's Loose Moose Racing Aston Martin 35 car here, currently sitting in 6th place, and that is where the number 3 Lexus ended up coming out 1.7 seconds in behind. So that has kind of closed up the mid-pack a little bit here. So there's a little bit of motivation potentially for some of these drivers that were in that mid-pack chasing that front pack. P1R Project 1 Racing's Jake here in 8th place, only 7.9 seconds in behind those two as well. So that you can see some taillights off in the distance there. It gives you a little bit of extra energy and extra motivation sometimes. So it could be a good thing or a bad thing, but we'll see how they handle that. We got Jack from Apex Hunting Racing here, the 69 BMW. Sitting 27 seconds in behind Jake from Project 1, but he is feeling the heat here from our pole sitters and the 45 Last Minute Racing GTR. So bear with me, JP. I promise we are getting there. And these guys are just having some good battles here, so we got to make sure we're checking this out on the way through. I apologize. I'm getting there, I promise. Alright, so again, are we going to see the battle here, or are we going to see a little bit of cooperation? 27 seconds is a big gap, so well-played cooperation in this sense can start to close that gap. And then again, the question is, how long can you continue that cooperation before maybe hindering another driver? But at the moment, we're not seeing any immediate pressure here, so we'll get through these very, very difficult corners here and see which one of these two gets out on the power better. And it does potentially look like that GTR got a good run there, but you see him pull out of the slipstream potentially there, so not in a hurry, I don't think at the moment to look for that position. So we've got Antonio here in the number 5 Lexus, our championship points leaders, 29 seconds in behind that battle, half-second penalty there, so that's going to slow him down a little bit. With the True Serum in the Sector 7 Mercedes here, 34 seconds in behind them, and then our RA black car. There you go, JP. Again, sorry for the delay for getting through the field, everybody. Blue Racer currently behind the wheel here is let me bear with here. Roughly about a lap and a half in behind 12th place currently. Give or take. Give or take. Ooh, night stints? Yeah, this always changes things a little bit. So we've had some some interesting things already happening in this race. We've had mysterious malfunctions from racers due to heat exhaustion is most likely the cause, and that has most certainly turned some upside down races for some of these teams as well, and some teams that are in a shocking position than we may be used to if we've been watching all season long, like our championship points leaders currently the number 5 Sector 7 Lexus, facing some adversity here today at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This isn't the first time, however, they've been in a position where they've been down at the back of the pack. They've been having to dig in and fight back. But however, with that being said, I believe this is probably the biggest deficit I think they've had all season long in that situation. So definitely an adversity moment here, I think, for the number 5 car here in the early-ish stages at this point now of this 24-hour race, closing in on about 8.5 hours in race time at this point. So nice little battle here between the Grid Life car and the Loose Moose Racing 35 Aston Martin here now. That gap within a second of each other, and again the number 3 car feeling a little bit of heat to hear from in behind. So Lucas now trying to hold off the charge from Total Wolf, and just breaking the slipstream there coming out of that sector. So in a sense, it's a great thing there for the 3 car, because the top end of that Lexus will outweigh the Aston Martin by the end of the straightaway, gaining maybe another 10th or 2, because when they come out of the corner here, the Indianapolis sector, that Aston Martin's going to have a much faster acceleration rate than that Lexus, and will most certainly gain some of that time back. And it's just kind of like I said, a give and take toss up, but it's a rocket ship coming out of the corners, that Aston Martin, and is most certainly one of its power advantages here at Le Mans. It gets down the straights very, very quickly. However, though, it does kind of run out of steam at the top end of its top speed here. So that is, of course, the disadvantage in the situation. But how the driver opts to use the pros and cons of each of the manufacturers that they're driving here today really does make a difference here as well. Understanding the machinery, the conditions of the track, and how the machinery is going to operate under those conditions and where you just can't put the car, where you can't push it past. So I mean, these drivers are adapting and learning that right now. Good healthy battle. Ooh, great pole. Can number 5 get a top 5 finish up in the YouTube here, everybody? Definitely would like to see what all you guys and gals think at home there. Don't hesitate to take a vote. Definitely, again, one of those quick things to do. And I'm not going to lie, if you're reviewing right now, I know that screen's up in your face, and if you want to get rid of it, all you got to do is just make your selection and it goes away. So little free tip there for everybody as well. Total Wolf here is 2.2 seconds here. So the Grid Life car still looks like he's settling back in, getting into a rhythm here and starting to open a gap up a little bit. So the Project One Racing Aston Martin here, however, making some distance, so 6.4 seconds now as well. So let's sit with currently Jake behind the wheel of the team car, as he continues to try and bleed away some of that time. So we'll sit with Jake here for a couple of sectors here on the racetrack, and then we'll go see what we see. Trying to keep up with some of the comments that are coming in here as the broadcast runs on here. There's so many of them, it's so hard to keep up with everybody. But fantastic stuff. Definitely appreciate everybody hanging out with us here, and definitely keep talking amongst yourselves. Let us know where you're watching from here today as well. We always love to know where everybody's watching from. The beautiful thing about YouTube is you can literally be in the living room from anywhere around the world and be connected with somebody from as far away as possible as you could ever imagine, and still enjoy a good moment or a good piece of entertainment or a good conversation with them, just like they were sitting on the couch right beside you. So definitely let us know where you're viewing from as well, everybody. We really appreciate that, and it's really cool to know where everybody's watching from. So I am broadcasting. I am a Canadian, so I am broadcasting from Canada here today. I'll even get it started. All right, so Jake here looking good, 5.5 seconds, and he continues to close in. So he opened that, or closed that gap, pardon me, by roughly about 8.5 tenths of a second here as he continues to work in towards the 6th and 7th place battle here. All right, Jack from AHR has Shred still tucked just in behind here, and this is very evident, not a situation where the 45 car is necessarily looking to get around the 69 car, not looking for that immediate get around. Maybe that the 45 car feels it's right on point with the driver piloting the 69 car right now, and maybe that's what they're trying to do here, is try to close in on Jake. But they're not necessarily closing in, they're just maintaining that pace right now, but that does mean that they are closing in on drivers that, of course, Jake is closing in on. So it is working in a sense. They're just not closing in on the driver immediately in front of. So it's interesting to see how, pardon me, the information is being transferred from the engineers behind the scenes. But unfortunately here for the 69 car, it does have a 1 second penalty that was just given from our track officials here, where Shred is nice and clean. So there's going to be very quickly the end of this silent partnership, as we can call it, or a friendship between opponents on the racetrack for the time being. And unfortunately there for the 69 car, that should allow the 45 car to be far enough ahead to actually even potentially break the slipstream here once he gets back up to speed, once that penalty served out of the Minneapolis sector. So tough break there for the 69 BMW, but we will stick with that here for the time being. If he can maybe find a way to open up another half a tenth or so on that 45 GTR, he may be able to come right back in behind and take advantage of a little bit of slipstream to help him get back up to that speed and race pace as well. So we're about to find out here as we enter the Indianapolis sector, and once we come around this corner here, we're going to see how it all plays out for the 69 car. He is going to lose the position, that much I do know, but how far behind that position is he going to be is the bigger question here. So it all comes down to the exit of Shred in behind, and we'll just give it a moment here to see what that gap works out to. And it is going to be just a little bit over that second mark here as they head and make their way down towards the final technical sector before heading towards Porsche curves here. Right, so Antonio is 28 seconds in behind that battle that we were just watching there for the championship car, the number 5 car here, our current championship points leader. They have about 5 minutes and 14 seconds behind the overall race leader, so I think he's picked off about 6 or 7 seconds here off the overall race leader so far in the stint. So moving forward, they got, seems like they're digging in there. This is what that tells me. They're just you got to put in the laps right now. You're not going to do it. You're not going to close a 5-minute gap over a course of 3 or 4 or 5 laps. It's going to take hours of this race for them to get into a position where they may have a position to start battling for actual track positions up in the higher end of the field here, but we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out again. As the field is very strong, the season is progressing, and that means that the drivers are progressing, the teams are improving, they're changing their strategies. Living Room USA, love that. And as the teams grow and mesh and start to gel together and start to get the information and the cars dialed in better for these races, that means the competition is getting stronger and it's getting tighter and it's getting harder and harder to per se find an advantage over one team or another. So, and we just lost our GT Finland Racing car here due to what appears to be a mechanical failure or disconnect. I'm not sure what the issue is there, but definitely behind pit wall, and started with what I can confirm is 13 for sure. I'm pretty sure it was 14, down to 12 here, and plaguing issues here this weekend at Le Mans. But this racetrack is a very tough race, if not one of the toughest, if not the toughest race of the season here on the schedule from International Racing Organization. And Le Mans is known to not only break the machinery that is on it, trying to conquer it, has also been known to break the drivers behind the machinery as well. Maybe not physically, but most certainly potentially mentally, as it tests all your ability and all your skill as a racer to navigate a 24-hour Le Mans here. And any racer that is challenged to racetrack in real life, most certainly is a good chance you're going to hear those words come from their mouths, especially the older generation, who kind of paved the way for the newer generation of racers. I mean, they sacrificed a lot to make it as safe as it is today in comparison. So we definitely got to make sure that we pay our respects to those that paved the way, because without them we wouldn't have what we have necessarily today at the extent that we have it. As cars and technology continue to get better and faster, the engineers continue to adapt and make sure that it continues to stay safe enough to still have good quality entertainment with minimal complications, especially on a serious event. We'll just leave it at that. You know, that's for sure. Antonio here in 10th place. I mean, back up in the top 10 here. So, I mean, they're definitely clawing. So, I mean, they're championship points leaders. It's not that this team definitely doesn't have what it takes to somehow, some way, find a way to claw back through. Strategy could potentially help, making some good calls, maybe some mistakes from the people in front that are chasing, having good, solid, consistent laps right now. There's a few factors that obviously play in and helping that charge back up to closing up positions, but if you can continue to do that, say over 4, 6, 8 hours of this race, now the last third of this race is a completely different race for that number 5 car again, and essentially that 24-hour race is now turning into an 8-hour race, and maybe they just didn't qualify well scenario, so they got to push hard through the field. Maybe we see a different number 5 car at that point, but right now they can't overthink things, they can't over push things, they just got to really make sure that they are not making any mistakes, as minimal as absolutely possible. Alright, in truth here in 11th place, we got Blue Racer in 12th position. Let's sit with our race leader. Let's jump on board here for a moment. Let me go catch up with the chat so we can see where everybody's hanging out. Very interesting pull. Well, definitely a little bit one-sided right now, but that can change very quickly, I think. Just too much in the chat sense, perfect. Do know what I hit there, but let's not do that. apparently a keyboard button works that I didn't know worked. Oh. Posted science. Alright, so IRO Harlock here from the number 44 Esports Race Asylum GTR is still pretty firmly in the lead here. I'm in 33 up the racetrack from Team ORT, our defending champions from last season, the first inaugural season here from the IRO. And it's been a tough season for our defending champs here this season. We'll move to their car here in a moment. We'll take a look here, but it looks like that we just had some blue flag situation navigated not too long ago from our race leader here as well. As I see a little bit of a glimmer of headlights in the background of the Mulsanne here. So as we head over to the ORT number 1 car, and number 1 of course signifying that they were the last season's champions as well, for those of us that are not wondering. If you see the number 1 car, that is the current defending champions of the championship, and currently sitting really nice in second place here. They decided to opt into a car change before, I believe it was the Monza last round. And the choice was bold. It was something that maybe a lot of people didn't expect to see coming out of a car change from one of the teams this season. They'd opted to go from the BMW to the Dodge Viper. Now, the Dodge Viper is and can be very underrated. It is an absolute speed demon, but that poses pretty big disadvantages in long distance racing for this car. And if a team can figure out how to overcome those, and I say significant disadvantages because when you compare it to its class, its Group 3 counterpart manufacturers, it's definitely got a couple of massive disadvantages in comparison, and one of them being fuel especially. So that's kind of the big trademark issue with the Dodge Viper. But you know, they're the defending champions, and they're proving that they're very bold and very competitive in this championship, and they want to start making up some of that ground from a slow start at the beginning of the season. So since they've gotten in that Viper, they've been showing some much improved results with the car, and currently today trying to find their way maybe into a race win here today to really get that momentum started to stir up in the paddock. So we got Melvin here now in third place. We see him grab 2 positions there, one on the number 3 Grid Life car, one on the number 764 Aston Martin, I would say 20 or 30 minutes ago, to get themselves up into third place. So definitely on a tear here at Le Mans. It's a minute 15 behind that ORT Dodge Viper, which we're just sitting on board with. And they are fight for P8, I hear. Alright. Definitely a fight for P8. Got eyes and ears all over the racetrack. I love it. Appreciate the heads up. Alright, so positional battle here as the Jack is defending from Shred here. Shred is tucked in nice and tight. So Shred, remember, was ahead here after that penalty being served by the 69 BMW, say a couple laps ago. Clearly either maybe a return penalty on the 45 car, maybe that swapped this position, or then 69 BMW is just a little bit quicker than the 45 car and has just outright taken that position back. But now it's kind of back to where things were again, where the 69 car is in the lead of that 45 GTR chasing him behind. However, the 45 car looks a little more racy this time. It's not just maintaining that safe 6, 7, 8 tenths of a second gap to make sure it doesn't overrun in the braking, bump into the back end of 69, and also make sure that it can make its turn. And this looks like no, okay, let's get ready to play kind of mentality and attitude coming now from that 45 car. You can see him take a look, get some clean air, see if there's going to be a response here from the 69 driver. There is no response there, as he just keeps it nice and tight to the racing line, doesn't allow any room there for the last minute racing team to make an easy or maneuverable spot 4 position on that 69 car. So currently right now just applying the pressure here as a 45 car. He hasn't done anything to indicate that he is necessarily challenging for the position, but he's definitely playing a little bit here. There's some mind games going on between these two guys, and he is just tucked right in. He's got those headlights blaring. What's the gap between 12? Just bear with here. We are going to sit with this just for a moment. We'll get to that gap in just a second. Ooh, and there we go. We got a push. So I guess that solves that discussion there, as Shred deciding to give a little bump up into the end of the first Mulsanne here, and he's just going to stay tucked in. Alright, so it looks like we've got the partnership back in play there. So we want to see the gap currently between 11th and 12th place. 5:59, 10:39. Currently 4 minutes and 40 seconds between 11th and 12th place. That 12th is currently last place. Alright, where were we here? Finding battles. Let's keep looking. We're gonna flip through quick. Let's stick with this right here. Let's stick with the battle here between Total Wolf and Project One Racing Car here. So this is an interesting battle because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Total Wolf has actually gained a position on Jake here, or Jake is closing in on Total Wolf. I'm not exactly sure now. I can't remember off the top of my head for some reason. It happens. But the two Aston Martins are now within a second and a half of each other at this point here. So this is interesting because they're the same manufacturer car. They have the same power restrictions, weight restrictions. Really the only thing that the drivers can adjust on these cars are the brake bias, any traction control, any analog braking system, and of course the front and rear aerodynamic wings of these cars. That's it. That's all they can adjust. They can't do tows, they can't do cameras, they can't do roll bars, they can't do any of that fancy schmancy stuff with these cars like you would expect. There's very minimal tuning ability in the series, which means that really the big difference when you've got two cars two of the same manufacturers battling for position comes down to that slight variation in the setups potentially, and of course the pilot behind the wheel at the time in the battle. So this should be fun. I'll have to wait and see, but we're definitely seeing Jake close in bit by bit here on Total Wolf. So Jake does appear to be getting into not quite striking range here, but get within range to start applying pressure. Just a little more, about a lap and a third, Slugsy, yes sir. Lots of good battles here. It's actually really good. You know, call it 45 minutes into 8 hours, 45 minutes now into the Le Mans race here, and I mean, we got very, very close, tight battles here. We still, I mean, to see 16-second and 20-second gaps at Le Mans essentially really isn't a ton of time. It's definitely not insurmountable. One mistake, one extra pit stop, and that very quickly negates that 20 seconds. Potentially you need about 45 seconds of a gap at that point, not even to lose the position. You have to make an unnecessary pit stop, say for a front nose clip or a rear wing. That's going to cost you, 40-ish seconds, give or take, in pit lane, depending on the extent of the damage repair that you need to take. But definitely in striking distance here now, as he's got about 0.4 of a second, so he's in range. He can pull himself in, he can choose to battle, he can choose to make a move, he can choose to tuck in and work with. But I suspect we're not going to see the latter of those options. I feel like he's slowly but surely been working hard at chipping in. He's got some pace. I feel like the Project One racing car currently is really in a set rhythm, and I don't think that driver wants to be following behind somebody. I kind of feel like that driver wants to get back into clean air and continue exactly in that flow, that rhythm around Le Mans here as he continues on. We've got the ORT Viper in pit lane for what appears to be a scheduled pit stop, and as I'm talking about that, we do see a move up the inside here, heading out of the second Mulsanne for position, and very smartly and wisely uncontested there by the last minute racing number 35 car in behind there. A little bit of a squirrely exit there, so that's going to cost him a little bit of how close he was on the exit there, but as you can see, still tucked very deeply in the slipstream, still closing in on the Project One racing car, and I suspect that we may see maybe a silent partnership between the two Aston Martins here. I feel like Jake is just slightly faster than the current pilot in the 35 car, so, but not too much faster, so I feel like the 35 car can most certainly stay there with the Project One Racing, I believe it's number 20 car, as they continue around a racetrack, and this could actually work really well in their favor to start chipping away at that 12 to 13 second gap to Lucas and the Grid Life car up ahead. So we'll be keeping our eye on that here. Shred 33 seconds in behind that exchange we just seen for 6th place there. And the last minute racing, 45 car here, pole sitter currently up in just outside of the top half of the field here, very solidly in the mid pack, but has that BMW 69 car still very tight in behind, and these two have not really left each other here pretty much for the duration of the stint. They came out very close together, they kind of been working together, they've been swapping positions, and I think it's not due to wanting the position. I think it's due to small things like this half-second penalty we see over the 69 car, maybe individual mistakes on the racetrack made. They're just doing what you would expect to do in a cooperation like this between a two-car train, and if one makes a mistake, the other one takes back the lead, not to cost itself time, and the other one closes back in and rinse and repeat, so to speak. Unfortunate there for the 69 cars, that penalty is going to draw him a little further off the back end of the 45 car there, and he's going to have to do a little bit of work to get back in the slipstream there. And I mean, at the end of the day, this is great news for Antonio. I mean, the gap was 28 seconds, now it's 17 seconds. He's been putting in sub 4-minute laps absolutely every time around this racetrack. He's in the 356s, 357s very solidly here, and holding currently the fastest lap of the session. I'm not sure what the overall fastest lap of the race is currently right now, but potentially that 356, 632 is a contender for it. And 15 seconds in closing here on those guys in behind. So at the rate that Antonio is going in comparison with the rest of the field right now, there is potential to see him close in on the 69 and 45 cars, maybe at that pit window for the medium tire runners. That's going to be my prediction here, as long as it continues on that nice, solid, consistent track that he's on right here. The Sector 7 Mini Cougar Mercedes here, currently 52 seconds in behind Antonio, and has lost a little bit of time here to Blue Racer, but that may be to a scheduled pit stop as well, or maybe an unscheduled pit stop, so about a minute gain, maybe a little less than a minute gain there between 11th and 12th place. Basically a lap now separating those two positions here, so not sure what happened there, but definitely some time gained for the Race Asylum Black BMW for sure. That's a pretty good lap. 55.2 is very, very quick here. Obviously not the fastest lap we've seen here this week in qualifying. We've seen the 45 car go into the 54s here as well, which is just absolutely blazing fast. Crazy fast to even think about. But yeah, I mean, so 55.2 in racing condition is quite quick. Very, 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 very quick here. And the 356.6 is quite fast here as well. So the number 5 car showing that they're very fast here. But again, racing circumstances are racing circumstances, and that's just the way it is. So I believe that's number... I don't know who's in behind Harlech here right now. But we are on board with our current race leader here, the 44 GTR of the Esports Race Asylum team, and I believe that was the number 5 car in behind. It is, or number 3 car, pardon me, in behind. It is. So the Grid Life car, they're going a lap down to the race leaders here, just a moment to go as well. So only the top 4 on the lead lap currently here at the 24-hour Le Mans, pretty close to 9 hours into this race, so that is very interesting to see as well. Alright, so Fonseca here, now 2 minutes 32 seconds in behind Harlock, 2:37. My make suggests that Harlock's just an absolute beast. He's just getting huge chunks of time on sheer pace here. Right now that's not the case. We are out of pit stop between those two drivers, so the Dodge Viper team had pit a couple of laps ago now, where the leader has not yet pit so far in the stint. So in a sense they're called what I call out of sequence. So once we see the remaining of the field make their one potentially only pit stop, but at least a pit stop, we'll start to see drivers kind of jump around a position. We'll see the time gaps grow and shrink dramatically for a process of probably 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll see the position settle back in. We'll see where our time gaps are again, and then we'll have a better idea of who's gained and who's kind of lost here in the stint. But we won't be seeing that here yet for about another 15 minutes, as the medium tire runners are going to take these cars roughly to the 18, anywhere between the 18 to 20 lap range. With that track being so cool right now, we may see the medium tire stints get short. Maybe we see them in anywhere from 16, 17 lap range. But again, you do have to consider that the cooler temperatures are only going to save the tires to some extent or another. If you're, I mean, you are on slipperier conditions, which means you're potentially sliding around the racetrack a little bit more, which could potentially be wearing your tires down faster. So I guess the bigger question is, are you really gaining or losing by trying to extend the soft tires in the cooler conditions? For some, maybe. For some, maybe not. It'd be interesting to see how these racers decide to play out the strategy here as we get somewhat towards that part of our 2-hour stint here for this set of drivers. So if you're new to IRO here, for this is your first time watching an endurance race here, for this is on platform Gran Turismo 7, and absolutely great. Looks visually fantastic, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Sounds great. The drivers are fantastic. The community is fantastic. It's large. It's healthy. It's booming. But what's going on here is there is driver swaps involved, which means due to the way that we have to do this, there is several drivers that take part in this race here this weekend. So we have the 24-hour race broken down into 12 driver stints. So every 2 hours there's going to be what we call a driver swap, and that's what we see in the stream transition, say every about 2 hours 10 minutes. Is we get that double screen action provided by the great production crew behind the scenes, and they show one set just kind of waiting in pit lane, but you also see the other set still in that active race of that great stint that you've been watching for however long you just been tuning in for us with. And once that one driver from the active screen comes in, that's when you see the teammate from the same driver. They're in the exact same car. Everything is the exact same in that sense. It's identical for that reason, because it's a team sport, not an individual sport here. And then that driver now takes over for the next 2 hours, and a new broadcaster takes over for that next 2 hours, and we just transition into a whole new set of staff members for that next 2 hours, and we repeat that cycle until the end of whatever the duration of our race is, whether it be an 8-hour event or a 12-hour event or a 24-hour event like we have here this weekend. So if you're a little unsure about what we mean when we say driver swaps and different drivers every 2 hours, I figured I'd take a moment just to explain to potential new viewers that are new to this and don't quite understand what's going on. So I hope that was sensible, made enough sense, and I hope that you understand. Please feel free to ask any questions if you have any more questions. We do the best we can to get everybody as understanding of what's going on with the race, so that you can just more enjoy the experience of the race. Of course, if you understand, that means you're enjoying it a little bit more. So we got Shredder here. He's got 32 seconds to Total Wolf and 14 seconds to Antonio. Some pit stops, I think, starting to begin is why we're seeing some bigger gaps again. Like I said, we're going to see time gaps shrink and grow dramatically here over the next little bit until everybody makes that one pit stop. That one scheduled pit stop anyways, and that's going to then kind of give us a better determination of what's going to happen in the race. So I mean, if we're race fans, we understand pit stop sequences. The pit stop sequence started about 5-8 minutes ago, and it's because it's a 4-minute lap and it's Le Mans. It's roughly what, a 12 or 13 mile racetrack, right off the top of my head anyways. It obviously takes a little while for you to get back around the racetrack. So the pit stop sequence takes anywhere between half an hour and 45 minutes if it's a one-stop style strategy, which has been very evident and apparent here in the race so far today. And the driver's obviously making it look like they're going to be pitting, but obviously that is the track edge, quote unquote, essentially that pit entry, so they are allowed to lean over that edge a little bit to get set up for the double chicanes at the end of the lap. So Melvin here, 44 seconds in behind the ORT car. Now again, that is obviously due to pit stopping right now. Much of the same thing here from 4th to 2nd place, but the 15 seconds now the gap between Melvin and the number 764 Sector 7 Aston Martin, pardon me. So definitely opening that gap up. The Grid Life car, we've seen how that incident coming on Indianapolis, catching the wall on exit of the final corner of Indianapolis sector there, had to make the extra pit stop there, is currently sitting 23 seconds in behind higher place. So I believe he is starting to close back in on 4th place here. He has moved back up into 5th place, but potentially some pit stops in behind him. Nope, that's just time gained. Okay, so that is just time gained. So he is in sequence with the drivers chasing, so doing a pretty good job of just digging in here in this stint, trying to gain some of the time back. So it looks like he's starting to get some of that time back, and we'll see if he can continue to do so. Jake here's been doing much of the same thing. This guy's been flying in this stint, the Project 1 racing team here, and their current pilot, he has just been absolutely making time up on the racetrack here. He's just been nibbling away, and they get a position. Keeps nibbling, and right now the position he's hunting for is 5th place on a number 3 Grid Life car up in front. So all so far in the last hour, he has probably chipped away 30 or 40 seconds away on these group in front of him. Not necessarily pacing the leader, but very close. Shred from the Last Minute Racing 45 GTR here is 33 seconds in behind Jake and Total Wolf. We skipped Total Wolf, I apologize. My apologies. Let's get over there with our Loose Moose Racing Aston Martin here. We've seen that great Aston Martin versus Aston Martin battle there, but Total Wolf losing just a little bit of touch there now with Jake, 5.7 seconds. So my inclination was definitely correct there. I felt that the number 20 car was a little bit quicker than the 35 car. That is the case, and unfortunately here for Total Wolf, maybe due to a couple penalties, maybe due to a couple mistakes, a couple miscues, just falling off that slipstream and not able to stick with Jake there, but still on a good pace himself here as well. Not saying that they're driving slow by any stretch of the imagination, but unfortunate that he's not tucked into that slipstream, potentially going a little bit quicker. Shred here we were just covering. We've got Antonio here, the number 5, our championship points leaders currently in the active season. This is our number 5, Sector 7 Lexus Esports racing car, and they've been chiseling away here. I think it was like 5:28. Maybe it was a little higher at the beginning of this 8-hour mark. They've now taken that down to about 5 minutes 7 seconds. They are clearly the fastest team on the track at the moment here, and are definitely putting in some good solid quality dig-in laps here right now. And it's 10 seconds to Shred, so I said maybe by pit stop sequence we would see Antonio close in fully on Shred, and potentially once that pit stop sequence was out there, it might be immediate battling there, but I don't quite think that's going to be the case here. Antonio has not been able to quite chip away at Shred as quickly as I maybe suspected up in front there, so Shred picking up the pace a little bit there to probably maybe ensure he's still got that little bit of a cushion heading into their driver that scheduled pit stop sequence. My brain is all over the place here today, I apologize. The 69 BMW rocker rolling here as well, 50 seconds in behind the number 5 car up in front, and has about 9.6 seconds to the, I can't remember what number the car is, but it's the Sector 7 Mercedes in behind here in 11th place. We'll have to wait and see what the number on the car is when they catch a moment there. 64 car, that's correct, right. My memory needed a little refresh. I do have paperwork that tells me all of this stuff, sitting inches away from me, but I really do like to try and use my memory to remember this stuff the best I can. I'm getting old. I'm not really getting that old, but I'm getting older, and it's just something I like to do to try to keep things sharp. It's like when you do your job every day, you know you don't want to get rusty. You use just repetition. It's essentially the same thing. Got to keep the mind sharp. I used to have a very good memory, so it's sad that I see it slipping here and there in certain things. So we do our best, anyways. We do our best. And then they throw us for curveballs and change our paint jobs, and then we got to figure it all out again. So yeah. Don't mind me. All right. The 44 car is still in lead, and we're not going to really talk about time gaps too much right now until we see this pit stop sequence end. DORT, Dodge Viper, has just been maintaining the pace it's at here now for the last couple of laps. Ooh, no time to react. Pardon me, I apologize. That came out of left field. Alright, Melvin in 3rd place. Melvin's gained 2 positions here so far since he's taken over the wheel of the Project Platypus BMW here, so been doing a great job with the number 11 car here. trying to continue to close the gap, but hasn't really been able to gain any significant amounts of time on second place here. He's maintaining pace with second place there, but that's about as good as it's gotten here so far in the first part of the stint. Higher place here has gone from third to fourth place, was down at fifth place there for a little bit, but then we had that moment from the number 3 car which gave him that fourth place back, so only down one position, but has been bleeding time to the new third place podium sitter there in the Project Platypus car for that since that battle's happened, and now down to 18-second gap, so that's definitely not due to pit stops. That's just over sheer pace between the two drivers and their respective cars at the moment, and we'll see if once the tires get changed over on the cars, of course that changes the pace of the drivers on the track as well, because we're going to see some guys going from softs to mediums, and we're going to see some guys going from mediums to softs. So obviously one tire is a little bit faster than the other, but one tire will also have a longer duration than the other as well, and that's what makes it so intriguing and interesting. So Jake is now 13 seconds behind Lucas, so Lucas is getting some time back on the P1R car at the moment here. Shred is also gaining, I think he's giving a little bit away currently to the Aston Martin in front here right now, but Antonio is definitely chipping away slowly but surely as Shred here is now the gap is down to 8 seconds, and I have a suspicion that maybe the reason why Antonio hasn't quite caught that 7th-6th place car yet is mainly just because of maybe track infraction penalties here as he's been at this incredible pace. Quite potentially the resolve of that question. Melvin currently sitting in third place there now. He has just jumped into pit lane, so that is a scheduled pit stop for sure. And now that pit stop sequence we're going to start seeing really happening here. We're going to start seeing drivers definitely jumping into pit lane as they come around their laps. Now the back half of the field is going to be a little bit longer probably before we see their pit stops, because they came out a little bit later in behind the race leader. Even the race leader coming into pit lane. It looks like the race leader crashed here. That is not the case. It's just the net coating, as we call it, the lag that driver is currently suffering from on the racetrack has been fairly bad on that driver's part here in this stint, and I just have purposely kind of been staying away from it because it's not it's tough to watch, it's tough to listen to, and I understand that from the viewers. No offense to the team and their driver. It's just the net coating is definitely makes it tough, and I mean obviously it makes it tough for the racers that are in driving around that condition as well. So everybody's doing a great job, but we're just kind of not keeping our eye there just due to that net coating. So you know, just our apologies to that team. Only reason. Alright, so some teams have pit, some teams have not pit. We see Lucas and the Grid Life car now up at the third position. Obviously they have yet to make their scheduled pit stop, so those positions were gained due to the time in pit lane from the rest of the racers. So Melvin is 11 seconds in behind Lucas now with a half-second penalty. That's never ideal. Jake is right there, 2.3 seconds in behind, but hasn't pit yet, so he's going to give that time back to Melvin when he decides to make his pit stop, and higher place has pit. So we're seeing massive amounts of drivers coming in. Shreds now in pit lane. Antonio's also now come into pit lane. Total Wolf is already made a pit stop. AHR's also already made a pit stop. We should be expecting one from the number 64 car here yet as well, and we should also be expecting one here from the, what number is this car? Oh, it's not going to show me. We're going to play games. Okay. Again, I have a spotter's guide right there, but then it'd probably take longer to find it there. Alright, it's not going to show me. The RA black car. We know which team it is. Alright, so that pit sequence is now starting to take over here, so we gotta wait for the drivers to cross live timing lines, take about another half a lap for the information to display a little more correctly. The gap between Harlock and the ORT team is not going to be 2.5 minutes. I suspect that gap's going to be about 1:40 something once the live timing takes effect and changes over to the correct timing. I mean, at the end of the day, the live timing determined on a racetrack is a bunch of wires that are buried underground the racetrack at points and intervals. They have transmitters that respond from the pressure of the drivers going over, and of course the transponder unit placed underneath the car sends a signal to those receivers. Those receivers then transmit that information through a server to the control tower, and the control tower can see all that in, well, real time. Obviously that happens in nanoseconds compared to what we could do something in. So that's kind of how everything's tracked on the racetrack. So the transponder unit's like a vital piece of equipment on a racetrack, but there's live timing zones all over the racetracks, and those are buried underground. So when the cars go over those zones, it picks up that transponder unit and relays information like speed, which car it is, the number of the car, all that kind of information, and it displays all that information to the control tower so they can use for whatever purposes they're using it for. Same thing here. So it takes a little bit of time for it to unconfuse itself, because drivers are out of position randomly all of a sudden due to pit stops. Essentially, the computers get confused. Alright, so the gap now between the race leader and our second place team, ORT, is 1 minute 47 seconds. So Harlech has been slowly but surely opening the gap up in the lead from second place. It was a minute 30 something at the beginning of this driver swap stint, so put about a 10 seconds to a dozen seconds on that Viper chasing in second position. So we've got the grid life car now going into pit lane, so that hasn't quite given us an official look at everything yet, but that will put Melvin back into third place here in the number 11 BMW from Project Platypus Racing. One of two cars they have here in this particular race weekend, but one of those cars currently in the paddock having some form of complication, and hopefully we see them back out here in the 11th and 12th hours of the race here. But Melvin is 1 minute 35 seconds in behind the ORT car here. It seems that could change a little tiny bit yet. We've got the Grid Life car and Jake in pit lane, which should give fourth place back to the 764 Aston Martin as he comes around the start-finish line here to start lap number 20 of this 2-hour run. And the gap there is roughly 25 seconds now to Melvin, so a little bit of time gain for the third place team, number 11 car on the 764 car here after that sequence. Lucas is about 18 seconds in behind fourth place here, so it's much of the same thing here. I think for the 3 car, they lost about 3 seconds to the fourth place car in that sequence as well, and P1R Jake is about 12.5 seconds in behind, so I would say he gained a second in that pit stop sequence as well. The bigger question is where's Total Wolf here, and that is just starting to sort itself out. As you can see, huge chunks of that timing changing, and that is because live timing is just catching up with itself as we get through those live timing sectors. And once we get through this first sector, it'll give us a pretty accurate gauge at now that gap. And it looks like it's about 14.5 seconds here between the Project 1 Aston Martin and the Loose Moose Racing Aston Martin. So a little bit of time lost, I believe, there from Total Wolf to Jake, but not insurmountable gaps here as we head through the field now to get a better idea of what we're looking at here over the next 35 to 40 minutes. It's 26 seconds between the 35 Aston Martin and the 45 car to Last Minute Racing GTR, who started the race sitting on pole position here as well, so definitely can't count that 45 GTR out, but Total Wolf been showing good consistency and good pace here in their stint as well. It's been a really good stint there for the Loose Moose Racing team, pardon me, and the 35 Aston Martin. It's right here in the 45 Last Minute Racing team. I know, right? It's easy to get confused when you got so many similarities going on here in the GTR. Have 8 seconds on the AHR BMW here right now, so a little bit of a cushion here currently on the 69 BMW, and those two have been quite close here throughout this driver sequence, this driver stint. And right now 8 seconds is probably the biggest gap I think I've seen between the two of them in the whole stint. So with that being said though, Antonio has absolutely closed in on that 69 BMW, and the number 5 Esports Sector 7 racing team is looking to grab P9 away from the AHR BMW here, so we're most certainly going to sit with this for a moment as this battle continues to roar on up and down the track. Well, up the track, I guess. Now we know Antonio's been putting in some blazing fast laps around Le Mans here in the early part of his stint. So now that he's swapped over tires and probably on a lower amount of fuel, can we expect to see faster lap times or much of the same thing from him is the bigger question here. But currently right now not putting any overpressure on the 69 car, I think is a good way to put it. He's just running his lines, he's running his lap, and just slowly but surely closing in bit by bit here on that 69 car. And now that gap is closing in within a half second here, so a couple car lengths separating the two cars here. But this is a BMW versus Lexus situation. And of course this exit is always so important that you're at a lower speed as you come through the corner, and low to mid speed, and the exit is important of course to get up through your gears as quick as possible to get into your car's power range, especially in these two car situations. And Lexus is absolutely just tucked in here. I mean, he's got the advantage of the pull from the car in front. The car is basically pushing a big hole in the air, and that just allows a free little pull from the wind tunnel essentially built behind that car, and allows that Lexus to gain a slingshot effect, which we just saw right there. So a very quick decisive pass there as we head into the Indy. And there's not going to be a question there from the number 5 Lexus car. He is immediately going to get it done and try to get moving up that racetrack as quickly as possible. We just wanted to see, I'd like to see the next couple corners after a good move like that. So let's go recap there. Antonio's just tucked in, waits for his moment, goes very late up the straightaway there, but well before the drivers need to make their entry into Indy there, and just settles in front of that 69 BMW like it was another day at the office. So great move there from number 5 Lexus, and gains a position there. So now the championship points leader up to P9 here, and the gap is 5 minutes 9 seconds to the race leader. So 5 minutes 8 seconds. So giving away a couple seconds in the pit stop sequence overall to the race leaders here, but has definitely taken a good solid dozen seconds, I would say, out of the overall gap between themselves and the Esports Race Asylum team, which ironically enough is of course the team that's chasing them in the point standings here, currently in second place as well. So this could potentially be a massive gain or pull ahead here for the Esports Race Asylum 44 car if the number 5 car can't find a few more positions here before the end of this 24-hour event. Now 7.9 seconds is the gap between himself and the next car, and then it's 25-second gap, and then so on and so forth. It's just 16 seconds, 12 seconds, 17 seconds, 27 seconds. But how quickly that number 5 car currently is rolling around the racetrack in comparison to the rest of the field. And the 355.5 now is the fastest lapper of the session, and I don't think we're done there yet, as we got Purple coming from Harlech here as well, our race leader. He is just also put down a 355.973 his last lap around as well. So I mean, the boys are cooking right now on this racetrack on these fresh tires. Ooh boy. We had to pit a lap early because he's been having too much fun and burned up too much fuel. Hey, you know what? He's having fun. That's the important thing. We got to make a little adjustment in the strategy. Just add a little extra fuel and he should be okay. All right, so a minute 53 the gap between Harlech and Team ORT. That is great news, obviously, as our gain is basically tells me that a mistake has been made from the ORT driver here, and costing a little bit of time on the leader. And Melvin is a minute and a half now in behind ORT, so definitely something happening there to that Dodge Viper. No worse for wear at this moment, but give up some time there. So higher place is 27.6 seconds in behind Melvin. Continues to now just maintain that. So he was bleeding time away, and that is about pretty constant now, that gap. Also the gap between the sector 764 car and number 3 car has remained about the same over the last lap and a little bit. Jake is, however, closing in on Lucas. So Jake is gaining time here on the number 3 car in front from Project 1 Racing camp, and continuing to do what he's been doing here all stint long. Much like Melvin in the number 11 Project Platypus car, he has been one of those drivers that's definitely been moving forward here as far as time and track position gain goes in this 2-hour driver stint. Total, ooh boy, he clipped that wall. Without a question of a doubt, he clipped that wall there. Ooh, wrong button. And very fortunate that that did not cause him to spin across the racetrack like we have seen today. You can see he just went a little bit wide. He definitely made contact there, but he gathers it back up, keeping the car moving straight and keeping what he could for momentum there. How unfortunate for the 35 car, of course, that did not come without consequence. When you hit the wall that hard, that is going to do some damage to your race car, and he's definitely suffering from some damage on that race car. Very close to pit entry here. I do suspect we're just going to see a left-hand hook straight into pit lane here, and I suspect we're probably going to see them fix that very, very quickly. Not ideal, but not the end of the world. And no, they're going to go around again, and they're going to see how it feels here. But I guarantee you that they're not going to be happy with the choice of maybe trying to push that car without the unforeseen damage on it. It's going to definitely bleed time on the racetrack here. So I guess that's what they're trying to see. They're probably doing a calculation lap, as I like to call it, a feeler lap, to see exactly what the car is going to do and how far they can push it and where they can't, and see how much time bleed is going to give away. And of course, the calculations start, the brain masses start working, the gears start turning, the hamsters start running, whatever you want to call it, and math starts happening behind the scenes. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, kids. You heard me. Math, most important skill in life. Even in racing, it is still one of the most important things to figure things out. Mathematical skills. That's right. Do your math. Ask for help if you struggle. Adults, if you're struggling, don't hesitate to ask for help. I know lots of adults that have a hard time with math, and math is a very complicated thing, and sometimes it's just overthought. So, yeah, but it's a part of life. It's a way of life. Harlech here, maybe 56. ORT, Viper here, maybe overdriving themselves a little bit, as it seems like they continue to bleed more time away unwillingly here. So let's sit with the number 1 Dodge Viper here for a moment. Let's sit with them here for a sector or two, and just take a look at the attitude of that Dodge Viper here currently on the racetrack. Now, I mean, obviously all I'm just doing is making speculation based on what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the same thing that everybody is seeing on screen as well. So we're just making speculations. Some of them are spot on, some of them are completely out to lunch and not even close, and you probably all think that I'm a dummy sometimes, but that's okay. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, I love math. I'm very, very good at it myself. So my math doesn't faze me. But
I'm also a tradesperson by real career, by paying job, so to speak, to allow me to do great streaming for great organizations. Math is like my number 1 priority in life. If I'm not good at math, there's no way I can be good at what I do for a living. So it's just something that comes with the territory. It seems like the ORT car camp has settled down here, so maybe it's just been some penalty trouble they've gotten themselves into over the last handful of laps. We all know that can happen here. The more and more that you continue to get infractions in certain parts of the racetrack as well, but obviously the stewarding officials are track limit infraction officials here spread all over the racetrack and all of the spots around the racetrack here at Le Mans. They tend to start paying attention to your number to car a lot more through that sector, and then they tend to be a little more judgmental if you continue to make the same mistakes repeatedly. And it seems like if you continue to still repeat the same mistakes over and over again, it seems like those penalties start to get a little more aggressive. So you definitely do not want to get the attention of the track official stewards here at Le Mans, because it seems like once you've got their attention, you can't get rid of it. So you definitely got to try to stay out of penalty trouble. It is one of the keys to success here at Le Mans, in my opinion, for the 24-hour race. And I mean, much like any endurance race, obviously key to success is going to be consistency, keeping the car safe, knowing when to push it, knowing when to just keep it safe and just let it do its thing. Safe laps, as I like to call them. But it also comes down to so many more things, and it comes down to the calls being made in behind the scenes in the garage from the engineer. It comes down to the information being relayed from the driver about the car to the crew, so they can maybe make proper adjustments to make it better or more comfortable. There's so many things that are going on that can go wrong in a race, and well, we're gonna see that car continue around. So they've determined that the loss, I think, from that tap on the wall or that hit on the wall is not going to be as significant as making a pit stop at this point. So they're going to lose less time, essentially. Taking the damage bleed, the time bleed around the racetrack per lap over the, well, with a repair of that extent, probably 50 to 55 second pit stop. So that is exactly the calculation that was going on in that camp, in that paddock right there. Was okay, let's get a lap around, let's see what that lap time feels like. They determined that it was a clean lap, as clean as it can be with the new circumstances of the car. Then that gives them an approximation of, okay, we got this many times to go around here before we're turning it over to the next driver. Then that's the time that you sort it out. Give the time away at the beginning of the stint when the driver's just getting in and getting settled into the car anyways, and you can make any changes to the car at that point in time as well. So it is a tough decision that has to be made in a paddock, and I'm really actually kind of surprised to see that decision being made. But clearly, that is what has drawn their conclusion, and that's exactly what that feeler lap I just called it was for the 35 camp here as they continue around in this 24 hours of Le Mans. Alright, we've got a battle right here as you see Antonio throwing some headlights down on the 45 car here, but this is not a blue flag scenario, so it's interesting. He may have just hit a bumpy part of the road. Now it's just what it looked like too as the car was bouncing up and down on the suspension as well, so he may not have been flashing the headlights at all. Timing is everything, and we caught it right at the middle of whatever was going on there. But Le Mans is a massively bumpy racetrack, keeping in mind as well, so it was very possibly just the suspension loading up and down that we've seen the headlights look like they were flashing, but they were bouncing, changing of course the refraction of the light above and below the car. I know, I'm getting too smart. I gotta get out of nerd scientist mode and get back into commentator racing mode here. Keep things simple. But great battle here right now between Antonio and the 45 car of Shred currently, and potentially a P8 position here for the number 5 car and our current point championship leaders here. So digging in hard, and now potentially a couple positions here before he turns the car over to the next pilot in 20-ish minutes or so, maybe a little more. 35 minutes. Alright, we love battles. It's always great that there's something to look at here, and great patience being showed by the 5 car here and behind. Not getting too tight, make sure there's just enough room for him to be able to react if something goes wrong on exit from the 45 car in front of. If they get a little loose on the throttle, that makes the car snap and you're tucked right in. You may give that car a nudge and put them all the way around. That might grab the eyes of the stewarding officials. Doesn't necessarily mean it may be your fault, but it's definitely going to grab some eyes. So, he decided just to keep a half car length distance between him and the corner there, just to make sure he had a little room for reaction. Then chooses a safer spot, and it seems like the entry into Indy is his spot to make that pass right now in the number 5 Lexus. That's now the same position we've seen him grab that spot from the 69 BMW about a lap and a half ago as well. So opts to take the same spot in the same pass in the same place for a position on Shred there, but a penalty being served by Antonio there, and unfortunately for him, he's going to give the spot right back to Shred there, but decided he wanted the position before he had to serve the penalty to give him the best chance he can to try and stay in the slipstream of the 45 car in front. Unfortunately, he fell just a little bit outside of it, but I suspect, judging by the pace of the drivers that are currently battling here, that won't take too long for him to close back in on the 45 car here and re-engage this battle, and potentially probably see another move in the same spot on Indy, the entry of the Indianapolis sector again. However, that one was a little bit closer than the move on the number 69 car there. There was a little more space before the entry of the corner there. That was almost right before you make your turn in for the entry in towards Indy there, but nonetheless very decisive and very confident in that particular part of the racetrack. Obviously, as number 5 driver, and it had 2 moves and 2 laps essentially for 2 positions there, but essentially quickly giving it back up due to penalty track limit infractions to the 45 car. So we're going to stick with this. I suspect that by the time we get up through the Mulsanne straights here, that the number 5 car will be applying some pressure back on the 45 car here. Not saying anything other than that's just what we've been watching happening in front of our eyes here for the last hour and a half on the racetrack. So We will get back through a field walkthrough shortly here, ladies and gentlemen. We're just really trying to key in on the good battles here this weekend. When you get to this point in a race, again, we call this the mid part of the race. This is where everybody's really just trying to dig in and close in gaps and make new ones for people chasing. So battles get a little bit few and far between sometimes at this point in the race. We've been very fortunate so far to have good solid battles throughout the whole 2-hour stint here. We've been not lacking too much excitement from our racers here tonight for sure so far. So we're just going to really key in on these battles. There's not multiple battles going on currently on the racetrack, so we're not really missing anything happening right now either. So we're definitely going to try and stay with that more active battle. This is battle for position after all, and there's a big story behind it. Obviously the number 5 car starting in the top half of the field, having an absolutely just horrendous start to their day here today. They've had mechanical failures and issues, they've had driver mistakes and issues, they've had damage repair issues, they've had just a calamity of racing events happening to them here in the early part of this race. So now they're really stuck in here trying to make up for all that calamity at the beginning of the race, and this is a result of what happens when you dig in and you're a team that seems to be in sync and obviously very consistent on the racetrack. Obviously pace has a huge part of that as well, but they are the current championship points leaders for a reason as well, with that being said. So every position right now the number 5 car is gaining back up through the grid, though, is allowing them to continue to close that points difference that they're currently giving up to the 44 car and the number 3 car chasing in second and third place in the point standings in behind them as well. So the ERA number 44 GTR is second in championship point standings, chasing the number 5 car for their overall championship points lead, and currently has 7 positions separating them in points right now. If this race were to end right now, which would be a massive game, potentially, maybe even potentially putting them up ahead of them. I think it would put them very close, however, though, without looking at the standings and doing the math and going through the process, which we're not going to do. But here we go, battle on as the number 5 pulls out there out of slipstream to try and get the job done here again on the number 45 car. And this is a little bit tougher this time. The number 45 car not giving way here as they stick it through side by side through Indy there. Very well done by the two of them there. And now number 5's guy is going to go, okay, we're going to try it on the outside here as we come out of the exit. And is he going to get the job done? And we're still got 2 sets of headlights there as we come out of the corner, so nobody catching that wall. And some tough battling right there through a tough sector on the racetrack side by side. Great job here by both cars, but it is going to be the number 5 car that does come out in front on this battle. So Antonio now from Sector 7 Esports, number 5 Lexus, up into P8, and Shred is all over him right now here as we head through the Porsche curves, ending in towards the Corvette S's. So juicy battle happened right there, and it was so dark we didn't even see that position change. It was just sets of headlights as the camera guy gave us a what would be normally a great shot under daylight conditions coming out of Indy there, but to no avail. All we got to see was headlights and had to see it on the live timing screen. Alright, so Shred's staying nice and tight here, so Shred's really going to try and stick in with Antonio there, and great news for Antonio is unfortunate for the number 35 Aston Martin. He's going to jump into pit lane to sort out that damage he took a couple laps ago. Obviously proving to be troublesome for that Aston Martin, and decided to bring it in and fix it. So we're going to eat that that extra pit stop here now on the racetrack, and that moves Antonio up into now 7th position. So that battle becoming ever so more important at that moment in time, as it's 2 positions gained essentially at the end of that racing lap there. So the number 5 car is doing everything they can to continue to dig in and get positions back, but getting on the lead lap is not going to be easy. They're a lap and a half down right now. They're going to have to navigate that race leader 2 times before they can call themselves on the lead lap and then close back in again and pass them for a race win. So potentially not there for them here today, but top 5 finish, question mark, as the poll said in the chat a little bit earlier. Definitely still up for a potential discussion here there. Alright, let's do our walkthrough here. ERA's number 44 GTR, the IRO Esports Race Asylum team. I always get that stuck in my tongue for some reason. GTR here in the race lead, has been for quite some time here today. 2 minutes now is that lead, so definitely opening that race lead up on the rest of the field here right now. So the driver obviously probably had a job to do, and that job was probably to continue to try and open that gap, and so far so good there for Harlock. Mission successful up to this point, and only a few, 20 minutes away here from turning that car over to, of course, the next set of drivers. The number one car, the number one Dodge Viper here from Overboost Racing Team is 1 minute and 19 seconds ahead of third place Platypus Racing's BMW right now. Definitely been doing some great forward progress here. One of the bigger movers in stint number 5 here is this number 11 BMW here, gained 2 positions to get himself up into third place here, and continues to put space on that 4th place car. So, and also picking away at the number 1 Dodge Viper, and we got that blue flag situation there, as I believe that's the RA black car, just giving way heading into the first sector there. So great job by that car there as well. That takes us to the 764 car of the Sector 7 Racing Boomer team here, and the first of the 3 teams here, highest up of the 3 teams here currently on the racetrack, in 4th place, was currently in 3rd place, went down as far as 5th place, and sits in 4th place, 33 seconds in behind Melvin. It's bleeding time to that 3rd place driver since that battle ensued, I would say a little over an hour and 15 minutes ago now. Position was lost very early in the stint there. The number 3 cars had an interesting stint here. They were battling there right there for 3rd place. They caught the wall coming out of the Indianapolis sector, caused some damage, had to make it on the Saturday pit stop, and then has found their way back up into 5th place since. I believe they dropped down into 8th place at one point there. The Project 1 Racing Aston Martin, I believe this is number 20 car here, has been one of those fast movers here in stint number 5 as well, has gained a couple of positions. It continues to make time up on the racetrack on the opponent next in front, which in this situation is that number 3 Grid Life Lexus driven by Lucas currently, and that gap is 5.3 seconds, so it is closing fairly quickly. We talk about big movers here in the stint. Antonio here from the number 5 Sector 7 Esports Racing Team, definitely a big mover here, has gained 3 positions on the racetrack so far in this stint, and has closed up roughly about 20 seconds. I can safely say 20 seconds on the race leader here overall as well on this stint. So not massive amounts of gain, and it's tough to gain. Like I said, a 5-minute gap is a massive hurdle to overcome here, but it'll be interesting to see what these guys can do. They're dug in, they're almost back up, they are in the top half of the field here currently, and are going to continue to just try and make their way up the racetrack. That's all you can do. You got to dig in, and they're dug in. So the 45 last minute racing GTR here started in pole position here in this race, and currently now finds themselves in 8th place. I'm not exactly sure what the circumstances fully were leading to the car being where it is at this point in time, but I know they have been a little bit even lower in the field at certain points in this race as well. So a little give and take here from the 45 car, but definitely fighting strong here, and lots of race to go for them as well. The number 69 AHR BMW, the Apex Hunting Racing Team here, is 19 seconds in behind that number 45 car. They were very close together for a large part of the stint, but seem to be separated here a little bit as that pit stop sequence undertook there. So the 69 car is kind of alone right now, but not out of the woods, as the number 35 car, however, having to make that unscheduled pit stop due to damage there. Again, another incident with the wall outside of Indy. That wall has most certainly been causing some problems for our racers here this evening and this weekend. Puts him 8.4 seconds in behind the 69 BMW here, so he dropped down about 3 positions from that unfortunate mishap there coming out of Indy, and it's the same thing. Just gonna have to dig in at this part of the race. It's a long race, and they're in that kind of long, difficult, and cold, dark part of the race. So it's a good possibility that other drivers are going to make mistakes throughout these next few hours in the dark as well, and it's not all lost. It's not lost until the race is over. So we got a penalty here on the race leader as he continues out of Indy there, and blue flag situation also up in front there as well. I'm not sure which car that is. I think that might be the number 35 Aston Martin in front of our race leader here as he comes up the racetrack. No, it looks like the Sector 7 car actually is our 4th place team. We may be seeing our 4th place team potentially trying to be put a lap down here by our race leader currently, only put the top 3 on the lead lap here. Not even halfway into the race at this point. So, interesting development right there. Obviously, the Esports Race Asylum team just on a rail here at Le Mans currently this week, and they've definitely got the car and their drivers and what seems to be the team behind the scenes locked in pretty tight here. Although the driving conditions here for this particular driver has not been easy here. Obviously, we can see the net coating happening here, and we haven't spent a lot of time on the race leader due to that. But I mean, we're getting near the end of the stint here. The race leader does dictate the driver swap sequence and when it does start, and when we hand over the mic to our next broadcaster as well. So we're getting to that point now, and they got to get to love. They have been killing it all stint long. So the 44 car here, 2 minutes and 3 seconds in the lead from second place team, defending champions ORT, and that is the 764 car that he is closing in on there. So looking to put 4th place, officially a lap down here in this 24-hour event this weekend. So we're going to sit with this for a minute and keep an eye on these battles here. We have some battle action potentially brewing, I believe. Here? Yes. No.
Potentially. It's not what I was looking at, but
we got some clusters of cars that are quite close together here, so we're going to do our best to try not to miss any of it here. Shred's still fairly close to Antonio. What else are we seeing here? Looks like blue flag situation. Okay, just had to get our bearings there. Alright, so the race leader is closing in on higher place here as well. The gap's within a second, safely within a second at this point here, without knowing exactly what the gap is, because lag time is not going to tell us that. But as we head through Azure, I think that's which one this is. I really got to get the track names homed in here. That takes us up in, of course, towards Indy now, up to second Mulsanne here, third Mulsanne, I don't know. One of the straights. Yeah, I'm confused in the booth too. It's too dark outside. What can I say? The 4th place car is not making that lap down easy either. And he doesn't, at this point, they are allowed to fight for that position. I mean, they're on the late lap. This is essentially kind of a fight for their life here right now. So, I mean, they do not necessarily have to just give this position up to the race leader right at this moment either. So they're on a fine line here right now, but once the race leader closes into a certain distance, I would suspect we're going to see higher place give that position up. But if higher place can prove that he can maintain the pace ahead of the leader and keep a 1 second gap, bare minimum ahead of the leader, though, it does not mean that the leader has the right to automatically gain that blue flag situation right either. So this is an interesting little ordeal we have going on here. So we're just going to actually kind of sit here for a second on board with this, because it's right on the cusp. Maybe within a little bit less than a second at this point right now, but we'll see what the exit is coming out of Indy. And opting to give the position to the leader and just making a signal there. You can see him signaling with the leader, but a flash of the headlights there from the race leader seemed to tell the 764 that it's fine, keep going, you're on good pace, I'm not too worried about it, and you don't need to pull over for the position. Or I think that's exactly what that was. A little bit of communication between the drivers in behind the cars with their lights there. The indicator showing was just allowing the 764 car to allow the leader to know, hey, I'm going to move over to the right side, so if you're going to go by, please go by on the left. And the race leader tucked in behind, flashed the headlights a couple times to let the 764 car, no, you're good, man, just keep going. So communication is what we just saw there, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what happens on the racetrack, and it's up to the drivers to interpret, I guess, that light communication and how they see fit. But that's exactly how I just took that, and it seems like that's how the two drivers involved just took that situation. You can see the 764 immediately hit the loud pedal and got that car up to speed. So it cost them a little bit of time, but no harm, no foul there, it seems like, and everybody seems to be happy with that decision. So let's get back to our 5th place team here, the number 3 car, as the number 20 Aston Martin has started to close that gap up, not quite in striking distance yet, but getting to that point where obviously the number 3 Grid Life team is more than well aware that he's back there. He just comes out of the exit of the S's there as Lucas just hit start finish line there, the official race start line anyways, there, and you can see, I mean, Lucas is aware that he's there. If we jump on board, there's no question of a doubt that you can see that car, hints of that car in the sectors here in that rearview mirror. And as you look up, a little little bit towards the mirror right there. That's exactly what you see. You see those headlights right there. You can see him. He's back there. So Lucas is aware that that car is there now. So that in itself, in a sense, is a little bit of pressure being applied from the number. Is it 20? It might be 717. I apologize if I'm getting the car number wrong. I know it's Project 1 Racing. That much I knew for sure. But 2.2 seconds to gap. This may potentially be the closest thing we have to a battle as we near the end of our racing stint here. Driver swap will commence in roughly 8 minutes here, as Harlech is about a lap and 2/3 of the way to go from that driver swap sequence. And then only currently our top 4 are on that lead lap. So actually, it looks like our top 3 now, as Harlech has gone around higher place. Now, whether that position was given up by higher place or whether Harlech just got it, not sure, but that position has changed. So number 764, Aston Martin officially a lap down here in the race currently right now as well, which puts the top 3 only on the lead lap. So back to this battle for 5th place between Project 1 Racing and the Grid Life Racing team here, and 2 seconds is the gap between 5th and 6th place currently. Continue to sit on board with this here for a few minutes. We have the time to sit on board and continue to watch this battle as we close in towards our driver swap sequence. Alright, 2 seconds. That gap is slowly but surely just being chipped away at here by the Project 1 Racing Aston Martin. I was just making sure there was no pertinent information they didn't know before the end of the stint here. Doesn't seem to be that we're missing anything on our end anyways that we need to know. So we'll just continue doing what we do here in the booth and continue to hopefully entertain everybody. Thank you everybody for hanging out with me for the last couple hours here. Again, I'm GT45 Gaming, and I will be back in a couple hours to take over stint number 7 here for everyone as well. So far from over here today. 1.7 seconds is now that gap between the number 3 and the number question mark car, because I want to make sure I get it right now. I'm second guessing myself, so we got to be sure. Yes, I know there's a spotter's guide. I know, you don't need to yell at me.
I guess if we jumped on the Project 1 Aston Martin, it'll probably give us a better chance of seeing the number, you know? Just saying.
I mean, you know, the dark blue and red car is a little tough to see in the dark too, I suppose. But we're getting to the point where the light refraction might just give us enough to see here. I really don't want to have to dig through my paperwork and make all that ruckus just to find a spotter's guy. I really don't. I'm sure the chat's telling me I just haven't looked at the chat yet, too. That is number 20 car. Yeah, so that's what I get for doubting myself. 1.1 seconds, and definitely in pressure range here now is Jake, so I just kind of want to keep my eyes on things here. We got basically 2 laps remaining before we'll see the driver swap sequence. So at the end of lap 31 is when we will see the race leader come into pit lane. So we will not see them continue around and finish lap 30, number 1, to take to 32. We will see them come into pit lane where they will hand their piece of machinery over to the next driver, and that's where the side-by-side picture-in-picture will come into play on the stream. That was what we were talking about a little bit earlier when we were explaining how the driver swaps work. That is another set of drivers waiting to get out on track in the same car on the same with the same livery, and the only difference is just the driver behind the wheel and the broadcaster behind the mic. Oh yes, we will be handing the booth over to RA's Cupcake as well here for stint number 6. Absolutely spectacular commentator. You'll definitely enjoy hanging out with Cupcake, so make sure to not go too far away here, and you definitely don't want to miss any of the racing action here from the International Racing Organization, that's for sure. But this battle's getting spicy. Let's do some battling here. The number 3 and the number 20 at it again here. Aston Martin versus Lexus. Lexus is the lead car in the battle and the defending car right now, where the number 20 Aston Martin is that attacking car. Pressure is on. He is firmly tucked into the toe. And is he going to use the slingshot move here up the end of the straight? Now, the issue with that for the Aston, it has to be very well timed, because the Lexus at the end of the day is going to have more power on the top end. At the end of the straightaway, does gain a position there on the number 3 car as we head around the corner in side-by-side action. There's definitely some contact there as both cars slide through the corner at such a high rate of speed, and it is going to be the number 20 car getting ahead of the number 3 Grid Life Racing team there, and that was a very tough side-by-side battle right there. Both drivers almost paying the price for it there on the racing exit. Lucas is going to look to respond to the number 3 car here as he pulls up, round, and ahead of the Project 1 Racing Aston Martin. Slingshot engaged as we head into Indy, gets the job done, and very similar move that we've seen the number 5 Lexus do a couple of times here in the last couple hours as well, in the exact same spot. So as we head out of Indy here now and up in towards the Porsche curves, it is the number 3 car back up into 5th place, and the number 20 car very firmly stuck in behind here. So battle on. Love to see it. This is what we race for right here. Alright, so again, decision time. The Aston Martin has to time this move very well, because if it waits too long, the power of the Lexus is going to take over. But timing is everything, and the entry of the Porsche curves was a good time to gain position. Forces the Lexus to have to check up on the outside, but the Lexus is absolutely tucked in like glue on the rear bumper of the number 20 Aston Martin here as we come through the Porsche curves. As we come out of the Porsche curves into the Corvette, as there is just a paper wedge separating the number 3 and the number 20 cars here as we head up to get ready to go through the final 4 corners of this racing lap here. This is a very hot battle here for P5 and 6 between these 2 cars, and it is currently the number 20 car that has taken this position away from the number 3 car and immediately moves across that straight to break the toe there. Number 3 does not follow, just sits on the line, fits in his preferred spot on the racetrack, and just settles in behind the number 20 Project Racing 1 Racing Aston Martin. So great battle there. Jacob one more position here and continues to charge his team up the ladder of the standings so far here as we get towards our number 10. But now we are going to jump on with our race leader here as he's just heading into the first Ulsan straight, signifying that we have less than 4 minutes to go before we see our driver swap sequence take place. So if there has been any little hiccups or glitches in the stream, I apologize everybody. We do thank everybody for the patient support at the beginning, and we'll figure out why our computer is playing games here with us today, and hopefully we have a little bit of a smoother stint number 7 for everybody when we do return from our little break away from the booth here. We're still definitely keeping a close eye on this. I mean, Lucas is not just absolutely giving up and be like, all right, you can have it. He's not going to give this up. If he has it his way, they're going to go side by side through pit lane and go in at the same time, so to speak. You know what I mean? So, or be ahead, one or the other, right? He doesn't want to be behind the number 20 car, so he's definitely going to try and respond here in behind the number 20 Aston Martin. And I mean, the gap is only 0.3 of a second here, so this is particularly decision-making time for the drivers. When you're battling like this, you need to know when to pass, when you're not going to have the time to pass, when to lay off to open up that gap just enough so when you get to run out of the next section, hopefully you have the better run up the straightaway and you get the pass done quickly and efficiently here. And that may be exactly what we were just seeing there. It almost seemed like Lucas backed off on purpose just slightly. They're heading into corner entries to get a maximum exit speed out of that Lexus there. Although I don't feel like it worked so well for him there, as it looked like he gained lost about 1/10 of a second overall there, but we'll see what happens here as we come around the corner. I mean, the Aston Martin's like a rocket ship on acceleration there compared to the Lexus, and that is again going to gain him a tenth of a second there on the number 3 car. So we're just going to get back to our overall race leader here, as they're now a little over the halfway point around the racing lap here, and as we're just entering the Indianapolis sector here for the number 44 car, signifying we're about 2/3 of the way around the racetrack. So very high speed section here with a couple of very subtle corners that leads us right directly into the Porsche curves, and then that very high speed final sector will take us into pit lane instead of seeing the race leader go back around again. Now we'll see first, second, and third place come in right at the end of this lap, and then of course we'll see the rest of the field come in the next lap, and so on and so forth until they've all completed their 31 racing laps, or 30 racing laps essentially, I guess. So Harlech coming around here and surviving the neck coating here in stint number 5. I was a little bit concerned. I didn't want to say anything, obviously. We don't want to put the famous CC on it, the commentator's curse. So literally inches away from pit lane. I think we're okay now. And as our race leader enters in, no, he did not hit the wall. That was just a neck coating. Is now going to turn that car over to the next driver. So within about 30 seconds, we will see the 44 GTR head out for our number 10. And it'll be interesting to see who's piloting that car here in the next stint as well. Continue to work on what Harlech did there, open up the gap by about 30 some seconds over our number 1 Dodge Viper Overboost Racing Team car here in second place currently. So as they exit the Indianapolis section here, they now make their way head towards the Indianapolis section now, as they are just coming out of the Mulsanne corner there. So 1 minute and 13 seconds is that gap between second and third place. And where is this? What are we looking at here? We're still close, but not quite that close. Okay. Alright, so Overboost Racing here is moving and cruising, and we'll see them be heading into pit lane here within about the next 45 seconds as well. Now they're just coming out of the Indianapolis sector, and they're showing that the Dodge Viper's been doing very well here so far at Le Mans. I mean, on a sliver of fuel here, but they should be okay to get around the rest of the way. Ideally, if you are going to run out of fuel at this point in the race, you definitely want to make sure you get through the Porsche curves at least under full power before that thing runs out, because it's just that roll to pit lane at that point. You got to slow down significantly to make the pit lane entry without being penalized or causing damage to your race car. You can see it is just as complicated as the racing section of the final 4 corners on the track as well, but very much more compressed to a single lane instead of as wide as it is on the racetrack. So it is one of the more challenging pit entries here on the racetrack in Gran Turismo 7 as well at Le Mans. So as we see number 1 coming through, we'll see him make that right hand hook into pit lane and prepare to hand their car over to their next teammate as well. And again, it looked like he clipped the wall there, but that actually was again a little bit of neck coating as they entered pit lane, and that seems to be a little neck coating spot right now on the racetrack. So we'll see if the rest of the drivers do it. But VQS Melvin here for the number 11 Project Platypus BMW doing a fantastic job this stint, 3 minutes 21 seconds behind the racing leader here as he comes around in the final car on the lead lap here right now as well, hanging on by about 40 seconds around the racetrack. Is not much, maybe a little less. One of our big movers here, instant number 5 as well, the number 11 Project Platypus BMW here doing a great job, having a fantastic stint up 2 positions and a nice comfortable gap to 4th place there between themselves and that 764 car, which we'll jump to here in just a moment's time. We'll see here with our number 11 car as they get into pit lane, and then we'll move up into our number 764 Aston Martin. And there's definitely a little neck coating spike every time the driver comes through the pit lane entry there. Here, oh, we got a battle for position here, so I don't know what happened there. But Project One Racing's Jake here now all over higher place, which means number 3 Lexus is just a couple seconds in behind. So some massive time given up here by the 764 Lexus here, and that actually means that the number 20 Aston Martin is now going to come into driver swap in 4th place. And boy, oh boy, Cupcake, you have action right out of pit lane here, as it's the number 20 car separated by less than a second over the number 764, which is going to be probably close to 2 seconds from the number 3 car. So an immediate 3-way battle coming into stint number 6, and boy, oh boy, that's going to make for some fun early action on these cold racing tires. So number 20 is coming in, and 764 is literally right in tail, and then boom, number 3 car right there in behind. So 4th, 5th, 6th place separated by 2.5 seconds in pit lane. Bum, bum, bum. Love it. Alright, Antonio here to number 5. Lexus from the Sector 7 Esports Racing Team was down in 10th place at the beginning of the stint, actually down in 11th place at the beginning of the stint, if I remember correctly, currently sitting in 7th place, so has taken advantage of some mistakes and just sheer overall pace in the lobby at 355.43 is the fastest lap of the session here, held by this driver Antonio as well, and very close to the fastest lap of the race here, just about a tenth and a half off. And Antonio brings that number 5 car in to hand it off to their respective teammates next up. So it's number 45 Last Minute Racing GTR here coming around, and only 13 seconds in behind that number 5 car, doing a great job managing that pace since the pass there for that position. And the 45 GTR is in pit lane. We have Total Wolf here from the 35 Loose Moose Racing Aston Martin here now, 19 seconds in behind that 45 car, but very close to the entry of pit lane here, and very close in tow is that 69 BMW. So the 35 car did get that position back from the number 69 car, but the 69 car comes out 2.8 seconds in behind. So a couple of close battles here for our next broadcaster here in stint number 6. I believe we are already there. Not quite. The delay on the stream is quite significant today. My goodness. Alright, the true term coming in here for the 64 Me Cougar Sector 7 Mercedes here now. 6 minutes and 41 seconds in behind the race leader. About a minute in behind the 69 BMW here. So not quite 2 laps down here, about a lap and 2/3 down from the overall race leader currently, as we are nearing the halfway point of our race, 10 hours in at this point now. And it is definitely still fairly close, all things considered, when you think about the grand scheme of the race here. And then that takes us to our final driver to come in here, which will be RA Black's Blue Racer behind the wheel currently in that RA BMW here, currently sitting in 12th place. Now, they are not the last place team here in the race. There is 2 cars currently behind the wall in the paddock being assessed and worked on. We should see both those teams back up and running here in stint number 6, one of them being the GT Finland GTR team. Unfortunately for them, suffering a mechanical failure fairly early on in the stint here, and then going to be set back a little bit in the field, but still able to continue the race. And the Project Platypus McLaren team as well, seeming to be having some issues here today, and also falling off in behind the pit wall here as well. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate you, and as soon as our final car comes in, we will see you in a couple of hours' time. Appreciate you. Thank you so much from GT45 Gaming, and continue enjoying our 24 hours of Le Mans here from the International Racing Organization.